It's now clear Andy Street, one of the Conservative Party's flying angels, the now former mayor, has lost the West Midlands mayoral race to Labour's Richard Parker. But it was a knife-edge thing, and it was apparently about 1,000 votes, less than 1,000 votes. It went to a recount, and the campaign, various people in the Conservative Party are saying, was a mess, literature arriving late, activists only turning up for photos, too much hubris and arrogance assuming we'd win because it's Andy. Good experienced people not consulted, brought in or engaged. I'm gutted. The West Midlands is screwed. No, the Conservative Party is. It's not. It's not anything particularly local. The only way to win as a Conservative mayor was to distance from the main Conservative Party. That was done in Teesside. It wasn't done so successfully here, and therefore Andy Street lost. This is not necessarily a success or a win for the Labour Party. It's a serious loss for the Conservative Party. Rishi Sunak, with his obsessive introspection about small boats and tax breaks for the rich, should be hanging his head in shame and thinking about the real issues, which are the NHS, the cost of living crisis, and honesty in politics. And he has time to turn some of that around before he finally calls the next general election. I cannot imagine turkeys will be voting for Christmas. I cannot imagine the next general election will be much before the late autumn now, because the Conservative Party is doomed to fail. And with that in mind, Rishi Sunak has options. He could ensure that he fails with honour and dignity, and does so by actually achieving something. Instead, if he puts all his energies into Rwanda, which is then turned round the moment he leaves office, what has he got to show for his efforts? The Rwanda law will be very interesting, because should Labour get into power at the next general election, which I fully expect, and they repeal this law, what happens to those foreigners who've been sent to Rwanda? Whose responsibility are they? Because they can't be repatriated to the UK because they never really belonged here. And I don't see how, if that law is repealed and Rwanda is declared not safe, they can possibly be allowed morally to remain. So how do they come back here? Because they are our responsibility. We have simply offshored our duty. I think there's a big contrast between what Suella Braverman proposed in the Rwanda bill and what Giorgia Meloni is proposing in the Albania law. The Albania law will put migrants in Albania to be looked after until they are processed, at which point they will be returned to Italy to live in Italy. Those who do not make the grade will then be passed on to a third country. Had Suella Braverman not so rigorously irritated Edi Rama, Prince Leka, and Albanian society, then maybe we could have coattailed Italy and joined in that particular project, which would have been significantly cheaper. And indeed we might have got some return from the £6 million we spend a day looking after migrants in hotels here in the UK. We could have spent a fraction of that amount, and that could have been sent to Albania. It would have been money well spent. It would have helped to prepare Albania for entry into the EU, and we would have been cementing a good relationship. As it is, we're stuck with this Rwanda deal, a country that is on the verge of war with its neighbour, and that every other civilized country in the world would recognise is not safe. It's a country which should be supported and helped out of the difficulties it has faced, but to preen and posture and claim that blue is red when that is not true is to be over optimistic and arrogant into the bargain. It's a madness, and that madness has been observed in the political fallout that we've seen in the last couple of days following the local elections.